What actually turned out to be better than you expected?
How convenient it is to live here.
I don't want to make Indonesians mad, but the one that disappointed me was
In this time and age in the world where there's a lot of uncertainty, Indonesia is a great place to be.
So because if a country is safe, it's beautiful, and the people are hospitable.
Ladies and gentlemen, living in Indonesia is better than you expected, is the conclusion I got from the interviews this time. But for what reason? Where are you from? How long have you been in Indonesia?
So I'm from America and I've been living here for about 7 months now.
What brought you to Indonesia in the first place, from America to Indonesia?
Oh, there's so many things. The nature, obviously my husband, Suwami, and the food. It's just like the environment mostly, yeah.
I'm from Australia. I've been in Indonesia for 7 to 8 years now, and I came here to help my wife, but also look after her parents, and as a competitive athlete.
Your wife is Indonesian?
She's from Malang, she's Indonesian.
I am from Gambia. Currently, I am a PhD candidate here at the University of Brawijaya in the Department of Management, Faculty of Economics and Business. This is my second time. I was here for my bachelor's degree, but it was more like a double degree program. So I spent like 2 to 3 years during my first time, and this second time I'm back for my PhD, and it's been 2 years now.
Living in Indonesia and living in Gambia is different for sure. But was there any moment or something that made you realize, oh, this is a different world?
The time difference. So in here you feel like the day is too quick. Like that's how we feel. So you wake up in the morning, you go to campus, you come back, before you know what's happening, it's already Maghrib. Yeah. Maybe it's because the day is starting very early here. Unlike in Gambia, probably the day is starting at 8 a.m. Yeah, in here probably day is starting at 6. So there is that time difference.
In Australia, generally we have to do everything on our own. Here, there's a lot more resources available for people to have convenience, actually. So things like, Gojek and Go Shop, Tukang, they're, just really helpful, and they're easy to find here. People who are helpful, people who can help you solve problems. So that's a huge difference between Australia. In Australia, generally we're on our own. So here you have a lot more support locally and from the community, which is great.
Here is more like you outsource the things you don't need to do. You don't need to do yourself.
Absolutely, or you don't know how to do. Yeah.
When I was driving the moped, that one was like, what? Because I used to drive a car and everyone in America drives a car. And then when I started driving moped and then I saw like the pasar, like the buildings, I was like, wow, it's a really big culture shock. It's very fun. I would say it's more fun than having a car.
What about in terms of cultural differences? What was your biggest culture shock in Indonesia, if you remember your first time here?
I think the conservative nature of Indonesians. So Indonesians are super polite, and I think typically they don't like confrontation. Culturally, that was a shock for me coming from Australia, where Australians are quite famous for being transparent and direct people, So that was an adjustment that I had to make when I came here, making friends and entering social circles, definitely thinking before I speak and respecting the conservative nature of my friends and learning to choose my words wisely.
Do you think you have become more conservative too as well?
Yes, I'm definitely very Indonesianized.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm more conservative these days, and I think it's not a bad thing at all. I think thinking before you speak is a great quality, and it's probably a quality that many Australians could practice more.
The kissing hand thing, the salim, that one was a big one because my Swami told me to do it to his grandma, and I was like, huh? Do what? Kiss her hand? Because like we always handshake, we hug, we handshake, but I had to kiss her hand. I was like, what the heck?
In Gambia, so in Indonesia, you realize there are so many restaurants everywhere, right? Yep. So people eat out, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and all that.
A lot of warungs.
Yeah, warungs, right? So in Gambian context, it's more like a family thing. So every day there is fish money given within the family, and they will cook, and then when it's time to eat, for instance, when it's time for lunch, so they will put the food in a big plate or in a big bowl, and the whole family will sit around and then have meal together. Okay. So we eat out, but on rare occasions, let's say celebrations or something amazing. Okay. Yeah, something is happening, but not like every time, like breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Before you came to Indonesia, I'm sure you had a lot of expectations about this place. What actually turned out to be better than you expected?
The food. Oh my God, the food. It's everything's organic. Nothing's like, in America, a lot of the foods are processed. It's not like organic. They like inject things to it, and it's just not healthy for you. Nasi goreng, bakso, pangsit, and maybe lalapan.
How convenient it is to live here. Going back to outsourcing, like the thing, very basic things if you want to, like your laundry, delivery service, food delivery, online shopping. All of those things are made super easy in Indonesia, and that makes life a lot more comfortable. And I think it also allows us to have generally more free time. So I noticed that Indonesian people, if they're not working, a demanding job, then generally they'll have quite a lot of free time, but in a good way. And I think it's great for people's lifestyle. So for me, I definitely have a lot more free time here and a lot more downtime here than I did in Australia. So it's really great. I was expecting to have life fast-paced here, but actually adjusting to a slower-paced lifestyle has been really amazing for me.
Yeah, I mean, generally, it's a very hospitable country and all that. That was what I expected. And the reality is also true, right? I mean, I used to live in campus, right? When you live in campus, at some extent, you don't really get the real hospitality of Indonesia because the campus is like you are within the four corners of the campus. But when you live outside, especially during the time I went to Tenggarong.
Under the city, yeah?
Yeah, I stayed with an Indonesian family for 1 month, for over a month. Yeah, my friend, his name is Ranga. His dad invited me. I was with the whole family. Like that was the moment I realized the true hospitality of Indonesia. It was amazing. Like really, those moments were one of the best moments of my time in Indonesia. I will forever cherish them.
On the other hand, what's worse than your expectation? Something that maybe disappointed you?
One thing, this is actually a really big topic for me. So I have 3 kids. My youngest son is 8. And he's at the age now where he wants to be outside, he wants to play, explore, and he wants to socialize. And that's been a huge challenge for me living here in Indonesia, is that Indonesian cities are just not built for families, in my opinion. I think the weather has part to do with that. Perhaps the pollution has part to do with that. But mainly, I think that Indonesia could really benefit so much by creating more community recreational activities for families to do with each other and with their children, to create healthier children and create healthier younger adults.
I don't want to make Indonesians mad, but the one that disappointed me was the rivers. They're so dirty. That one is just sad because Indonesia is so beautiful. Why pollute it? Why throw trash in the river? It's a beautiful country, Like, why ruin nature?
When it comes to disappointment, sometimes it has to do with little cultural difference in terms of, let's say, communication or way of life. Like, for instance, what might be normal in Gambia might not be normal here, right? Let's say, okay, so you call someone and then you say Assalamu alaikum and they replied apa. That's like what? Okay, in my country, if I call you, let's say, hello, Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum salam, how are you? I'm good, blah, blah. Yeah, but if I just call you and you say apa,
That's not...
Yeah, it's not really polite. It means like you don't want to talk to that person, right? Yeah, but here, if you come, you tend to, after a few times, you tend to understand, okay, this is normal.
What could be improved here? I mean, you have lived both in America and Indonesia. Something that may be missing that could make it more perfect for you?
Nothing.
Nothing,
alhamdulillah. I think it's already perfect. It's just the trash. People are perfect, everything's perfect, the food's good.
Could you see yourself living here forever or?
Inshallah.
I do find in Indonesia that a lot of Indonesian people seem to be not very active and not very summing up to exercise or to, explore and adventure. And I wish that would change. And I think that starts at a very young developmental age of children where you learn to go outside and play on parks and swing and jump and play and socialize. And I think that's just so important that Indonesia is, that's something that Indonesia is really missing, and that breaks my heart.
More of a public space for families.
Absolutely. More of a public safe space for families. Yeah. All of the playgrounds in Indonesia are just, a lot of them are old, they're under-maintained, they're broken, and I just wish that Indonesia had more of an emphasis on kids being active.
That's why you have this gym.
Absolutely, yeah. That's why. I mean, we wanted, to create a space where people can come and have a support network, be encouraged, and feel good about themselves. Yeah.
Check out
Strength Club Malang.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't think living here is difficult. If you have a reasonable budget, you can live comfortably. The electricity is it's reliable, it's constant. There is constant water supply. Yeah, I think living is not quite difficult. And also, when you need something, you can easily find Indomarets everywhere. And if you cannot go out, there is also Shopee, right? And Tokopedia also. So you can basically sit in your house and do all your shopping. You get it delivered. And when you need to go somewhere, you don't know the location. You use Gojek. Oh, yeah, I think living is not quite difficult. Yeah.
Okay, so everything is easy. You're saying that?
In terms of the living, I think it's quite accessible compared to other countries.
What's something you realize about Indonesia that most people out there in the world do not understand, don't get about Indonesia? Something that they should know.
I think outside of Jakarta, Indonesia is probably one of the safest countries in the world. I really believe that in my heart. There's hysteria around Indonesia being a dangerous country, being a country where you can't trust people. And I think that generally Indonesians are quiet, conservative, respectful, and beautiful people. And I think that Indonesia is, in this time and age in the world where there's a lot of uncertainty, Indonesia is a great place to be.
How cheap everything is. That one is a big one for me. When I came here, I realized how cheap everything was. And I was like, wow, $1 for a whole meal? That's crazy. Because I would spend like what? $20, $15 on a meal like I could get here for $1.
One thing about the country, it's relatively a very safe country. It's a safe country and there are a lot of cultures and religion. So if someone is out there and worried about because one thing that most foreigners are really worried about is the safety of a country that they want to visit. You know, students here, we live peacefully. No big issues, no big deals. And the other thing is also like if you are wondering if the people are going to be very harsh on you because you are coming from another country, regardless of where you come from, which background or race, I think Indonesians are open to all cultures as long as you respect their own culture. And if you're looking for safety, it's safe. If you are looking for hospitality, it's hospitable. If you are looking for beauty, it's one of the most beautiful countries in the world. You can go to Bali, you will see what I'm talking about. Yeah, Bali is very popular though, by the way, but people should also come to Malang. It's an amazing city. Yeah, so yeah, basically I think these are so because if a country is safe, it's beautiful and the people are hospitable.
Have you been following the Indonesian news?
I do sometimes.
Yeah, like it's not the best for Indonesians too. Like a lot of demonstration happening recently.
Yeah.
Do you think that affects how you feel safe here?
For me, not particularly. I mean, because, as long as you know what's happening and you mind your business, then people seem to leave you alone. Right. So I think in the past it would have been probably a lot more serious. But no, I mean, as long as I, mind my business and you choose the right area to live, then yeah, it's pretty safe.
Right.
Islam
in Indonesia is big, as well as in Gambia, I think. Have you noticed any difference? I'm not asking you to compare, but more of a fun fact.
So basically, it's the same, yeah. When it comes to Islam, because we have, one belief. Islam is more like a brotherhood. So you see that generality.
It is
but
universal.
But there is a fun fact though, which is about the Muslim KTP. I have realized that Muslim KTP is like you are a born Muslim, okay? But when it's time to practice, you don't really practice well. So I had some friends calling it Muslim KTP, which is really funny. KTP means the ID, right? Yeah, it's like Muslim by identity.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but it's not supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be Muslim as a whole, as an identity and in practice. Yeah.
And that's pretty common in Indonesia, right?
Yeah, I have seen a lot of friends talk about it, and it's for me it's very funny because we don't have things like that in Gambia. Yeah. So yeah.
How do you feel as a Muslim being in a majority Islam country? Does it make a lot difference?
Oh, it's a big difference. I could go into so much depth into this, but I'm not going to. But it's such a big difference. As a Muslim, I would rather live in as a convert, I would rather live in a Muslim country rather than non-Muslim. Ramadan, let's give an example of Ramadan. Back then, I could not experience the experience that I experienced here in Indonesia. I couldn't go to masjids because I was all alone, I didn't have anyone. I was alone. I would break my sahur. I would eat my sahur alone. I would break my iftar alone. I was always alone. And it was hard, It was hard. But now, alhamdulillah, I'm in a community of Muslims and I love it.
What was the biggest challenge in adaptation, in the conforming to the Indonesian society for you?
I think adjusting to a slower pace of lifestyle was a big difference for me. I'm from the city. I'm from Melbourne, which is a fast-paced city, and adjusting to the Indonesian lifestyle, especially Javanese, things move slower here. They work often on their own time and on their own pace, especially things like service. You enter the shops and the service quite often is slow, more relaxed pace. And that was something that I found really hard to adjust to because I was used to moving quick. So initially I found that actually quite frustrating. But economically, you have to understand that, because the population is so dense, finding jobs can be hard. And also the minimum wage here is also much, much lower than any average Western country. So you have to understand that people are working as a means of living here often, especially at those types of stores. So you have to be patient and you have to be polite and understanding. There's no use being upset. Right. People are just trying to work and earn a living and live their life outside of work. So we have to be empathetic towards that.
Orang asing yang tinggal di Indonesia, sepenting apa bahasa Indonesia harus dipelajari?
Saya suka bilang orang baru dan orang Indonesia juga, kalau mau tinggal di Indonesia harus adaptasi atau mati. Harus kalau mau tinggal di sini di Indonesia, dalam Indonesia, ya kamu harus respect culture-nya, jadi harus belajar bahasanya. You cannot expect Indonesians to conform to you. You're in Indonesia, jadi kamu harus belajar bahasa basic minimal, ya. As a minimal requirement.
Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe. Not Diplomat Channel.